the Dragon Balls, we have like the Red Ribbon arc, which is a huge arc. Very like I don't want to say it might be the largest arc in Dragon Ball. It took I think it was like a big chunk of it. But then you're like, because even King Piccolo arc, like it's lengthy but not lengthy, and it depends on how you want to look at the King Piccolo arc too. But yeah, Dragon Ball, the Red Ribbon arc is long. And so I got something out real fast. You fix some sugar, eyelash or dust. Okay, there you go. So the Red Ribbon Army arc, the number one thing that like kind of starts all it off is it's like, so Goku, like the tournament ends and he's like, great, I've been training, I got second, that's cool. And then Master Rochi's like, you should train more and travel, and he's like, okay, what do you want to do for your next adventure? It's gonna be 3 years. He's like, I'm gonna go get the Dragon Ball from my grandfather. The pure heartedness again. The Dragon Ball leads everything, like the 4-star Dragon Ball, but also the Dragon Balls lead the entire story. Like, yes, that's why it's called Dragon Ball. But even like later on, when people kind of like forget that, like, because you can look at the whole Red Ribbon arc and like there is a collecting of the Dragon Balls, but the way it starts off is Goku's just trying to find the 4-star Dragon Ball. So his intention is, I have this, and every Dragon Ball he finds along the way where he begins to thwart the Red Ribbon Army, he has no desire to call the dragon yet. He's just looking for the 4-star Dragon Ball. And he's thwarting the army because they're after the Dragon Balls too. And he gets enough energy, like enough vibe from them that they're bullies and they're mean. And so he doesn't want them to have them because he's like, they don't deserve to have them. But really his big thing is like, once I find the 4-star, I'm going to keep whatever I have. And I'm just not going to let bullies come use them. Like he doesn't really have a plan what to do with, because I think, he gets to the point where like by the time he finds the 4-star, he has like 3 of them. And so there's kind of this idea of like, he has no plan what to do with the other 3.
The only desire he really has other than get to the 4-star is, well, I'm going to be the strongest fighter. But he already implicitly knows you can't wish for that strength. You have to earn that strength. So you're right. There's no reason to use these Dragon Balls other than I have my dad again, or my grandpa again.
Yeah, I have the one thing my grandpa left me, the one reminder of my grandpa, which is the naivety of Goku at the time too. He's 12 years old. He is just a kid, but there's this level of like raised in the mountains. We were talking about this a little bit, before the show started, like his difference between Vegeta and Goku. Like Goku raised in the mountains, and this brings me to like what I wanted to like start off with, was like the planes of existence. And so like Goku's like where his reality exists is he's naive enough of like, well, this is the one thing my grandfather left me. He even calls it grandpa a lot of the time. And even in the sub, that's not like a mistranslation, or he's not saying my grandpa's ball and they're just forgetting to leave that part in there. No, like in Japanese, he's calling it grandpa too. And it's more of that sentimental, like that means that to him. But that's also a way like a child references something that means something to them, especially in a little bit of the Japanese culture. It's like, if you were to like, like a kid got a present from like, let's say their uncle or something like that, and it's their favorite uncle, like when they want to see that uncle, they'll say that uncle's name. But also whenever they're like looking for that toy, if they don't have like, it's not like an action figure. Like if it was like a Goku action figure, they might say Goku. But if it was like something else they gave them, they usually just call it that. And they usually fades away in Japanese culture by like 6 years old. But like Goku is that like level of maturity. Like he's a much more immature, much more innocent, and immature in a positive way. So his plane of existence really is, I want the Dragon Ball. And then along the way, he's like, oh, there's bullies. Well, Master Roshi taught me to beat up bullies. Plus, even you see this in the beginning, the first Dragon Ball, anytime they run into somebody, he asks them to be nice. And then, or I'm going to smack you. Yeah. And then he smacks them, or then they fight. And so even then, that's still like Gohan's influence, which is probably from Master Roshi too, but like influenced onto him of like, be kind, don't be a bully, and beat bullies up if you do see him. And then Goku didn't have any friends, but once he has friends, it's, continue to always help my friends. Help my friends at all cost. The last thing I'll say about planes of existence here is, so Goku goes off to the snow world, and I'm jumping ahead a little bit before we jump into like where each of the generals in. But when he goes to the snow world, he chooses to help out, actually the snow world, but the snow village. He chooses to help them out because the village chief is taken by the Red Ribbon Army.
Yes.
I'm just going to go beat up Muscle Tower now. Why? Because they're being bullies and they did a wrong thing, and you guys are my friends. And you saved me from the cold, so we must be friends. That simple and plain.
Yeah.
And doesn't seem impossible. like the impossible doesn't exist to Goku because of his plane of existence, which reminds me of like spirituality too. It's like things only matter as much as we give meaning to them. And that phrase is starting to get thrown around a little bit more, and maybe even I say it a little too loosely. But like that really does mean like what you put energy into, it matters because you said it matters. You know, like even the idea of something getting broken matters when we put that kind of energy into it. So it's like on our plane of existence, what we think matters is what matters in our plane of existence. So if you're focused on the past, that might matter a lot to you and that might cause depression, but that's your plane of existence because that's what matters to you. Um,
Yeah, it's very perspective based. The way you see the world, I mean, another modern term is worldview. And so we have a lot of people in our current world that have a worldview that's very depressed, very, I am the victim, I am suffering. A lot of people think the world is out to get me, or people are out to conspire against me. And that's become very common, I believe, especially in the West, because in the West, the Christians are raised to believe, well, yeah, God is in my corner, but only if I'm worthy.
yeah,
And then people who aren't Christian are raised with various other beliefs, or if you don't have the Christian upbringing or any of the religious upbringing, you might have had to cobble together your own beliefs based on your family, your parents, your friends, and people you've run into and things you picked up along the way. And that leaves a very amorphous and not solid ground to stand on.
yeah,
Where in the East, especially in the Far East, they have multiple thousand-year-old traditions that everyone pretty much is either stuck to the A version or the B version, and so and there's no animosity between a lot of them.
yeah,
Where even between Sunni and Shia, there's a lot of countries in the Middle East where they live perfectly fine alongside each other until the extremists come in, and that's when they have issues because normally they're not extreme; they're just A or B.
yeah. Gotcha. Okay, just A or B, and yeah. And again, it's that extremeness, like extremeness, and that's also like their viewpoint, like the way it comes in and makes a difference. Like using Goku's, I know we use the term like worldview here a little bit. And the reason I chose plane of existence is like your worldview makes up what you experience,
Mm-hmm.
but then also like plane of existence because it's also like what is actually influencing, like what is it influencing, and what are you influencing? So like Goku before he meets Bulma, the Red Ribbon Army exists. Bulma exists, Yamcha
Yes.
exists, Master Roshi exists. All of them exist, but they have no ripple effect in Goku's world. So literally, by like the theory of transurfing, by the laws of transurfing, Goku is in a different reality.
Mm-hmm.
He's in a different vibration. He's in a different dimension, technically. Now, it might only be one, degree off. It's like 98.9 versus 99 or 98.7, like they're just two little points off. That's all it really is, but he's on a different plane of existence. And his ripple effects aren't affecting anything else until he meets Bulma, until he gets hit by the car, and then
Yeah.
we lean into it. But same as like Red Ribbon Army, he's not actively trying to thwart the Red Ribbon Army until he goes to the snow world and he's like, oh, they're being bullies to you guys? Okay, now I'm going to actively go take down the tower. It's still not, I'm going to go beat the whole Ribbon Army up. You know, he doesn't decide to do that until later.
Yeah.
But like, that's what I'm saying. Like, so his point is in that way. It's like, we can view that a little bit in spirituality. It's like where it gets a little, it might be a little bit too woo woo for some people. Maybe it's not, but it's that idea of like your reality, like your thoughts, your beliefs, your worldview creates ripple effects, and that creates your reality. And so it's like this idea where you hear about people that, oh yeah, they meditate every day and they're so happy and joyful. It's like, do you know why that is? Because in their plane of reality, meditating every day matters to them to make them happy and joyful. And like I can look at my own life. Like, there's been times in my life where I was very depressed and I've looked at the world in a way that it was not out for my good. That there was nothing in the world that was working for me and everything's just out against me or doesn't give a care about me. And now the way I view the world is like, well, everything is still kind of neutral, but also at the same time, the universe is conspiring for my good at all times. And why is it conspiring for my good at all times? Because I believe that it is. And because I believe that it is, I keep getting evidence that it is. So that's where the paradox exists. Has it always been conspiring for my good? Or is it only now conspiring for my good because I believe it is? And it's like, that's the paradox of it. The
Yeah.
vibration has always existed, and then you choose to tap into it, which then creates the energy that's already always existed.
Yeah, even physics has the same quandary of the observer effect.
Yep.
Obviously, it's happening when you're looking at it, but when you're not looking at it, our data says it isn't happening anymore, unless our data is keeping track of it, in which case it says it is still happening
It's still
because the
observing.
data is observing it. So it's like, well, which is it? We
Which
don't
is
know.
it?
It's you have to choose you have to choose to believe one or the other.
One or the other. And it's that, like, for, like, we, it used to be like kind of like an older phrase, or like it almost became a joke of like, oh, if a tree falls in the woods, does it make noise? And that actually became like a joke about philosophy. Like, you would see it in movies and be like, oh, I took a philosophy class and I just couldn't figure out if a tree makes noise when it falls in the woods. Like, and so I flunked out of philosophy. It became a joke in philosophy, but like it was really like having actually taken philosophy classes, like they do stuff like that. But there's also like a line of actual logicality that goes down through philosophy.
Mhm.
So as the example, like if you believe all swans are white and Gary is a swan, then you believe Gary has white feathers. But guess what? There's black swans in existence. So you're actually wrong. But at the same time, in your belief system, until you see Gary, the black swan, he's a white swan. And in your reality, he always will be. And I could point out it, and you could pick a different white swan and call it Gary. It's still Gary, it's that level of like, but like that was really a thing of philosophy. Like we had to write a 10-page paper about not just that, but like those concepts. Like there was like 4 or 5 of them, and you had to like go through and like break down how both things are true. And that's what a lot of philosophy actually was, like the paradox, which is like when you dive into deeper spirituality, like you look at like the grand scheme of spirituality. And I shouldn't call it deep doctrine spirituality, but it felt deep to me when I figured it out that most things are paradoxical. Like they're both happening and not happening. And it's like everything serves you. So like me doing breath work on a daily basis, it serves me and is great for me until it's not. And then it doesn't serve me. And then it's negative for me. But it's the same action. Like, but at what point does it not serve me? When I become, for me, my personal belief, when it becomes a chore, when I'm like, oh, gotta do breath work. Okay, here we go. It's no longer serving me then. Even though the benefit will, and I should verify, there's a difference between the kind of like, it's gonna be hard to do and I don't really want to do it, that's uncomfortable, versus the dreading to do it. Like going to the gym. It's like I don't always want to go to the gym. But in general, there's not a dread. It's not like a job I hate that I'm like, I have to go to the gym. And if I don't, I'm going to lose my job, or anything like that. It's that idea of that's dreading to me is when you wake up and you have to do something and you're forced into it and you really don't want to. And yes, you could choose not to like go to a job you hate, but eventually there's a ripple effect you don't want to enhance.
Yeah.
When I say so, it's not the dreading, it's the uncomfortable. So like if I dread doing breath work, it no longer serves. So tie this back home to Dragon Balls. I've kind of gone off on like a tangent there, but like to tie that back in, it's like in the planes of existence and how it ties to our spirituality in our world. It's like what is serving us and like what's working for us. And so Goku's creed, as I've deemed it, and I think it'd make a really cool shirt out there, but like Goku's creed of be kind, get stronger, or grow, continue to grow, help your friends at all cost, and don't be a bully, and stop bullies if you run into them. Like it's a pretty simple thing, but it's like that's his plane of existence, and that's what matters to him. And because that's what matters to him, anyone that runs into that ripple effect, it changes who they are. It changes their general being. And just so go for it.
You have his ripple effect. You have his way of being and how that's affecting the world. And you have Red Ribbon Army comes over with theirs, and everyone in their organization that has that is enhancing that way of being. The two come into contact. One resonant frequency has to supersede the other. And so, and in this case, it comes down to not only which one is stronger. I think the story, the plot armor of it says, "Oh, Goku's the strong one, therefore Goku's right." But we all know might doesn't always make right. That's the point of philosophy, is to figure out where's the truth here. And I think the truth there is, it's not that technically Goku is stronger, it's that his philosophy, his way was stronger because it was the correct way. Resonancy, frequency wise, in the cosmos, it was actually in frequency, it was in sync with the cosmos, in that greater arcing compassion of the universe, as opposed to General Blue or Commander Blue and the Red Ribbon Army, and how they were absolutely not. They were serving only themselves. Yes. And even in their organization, some of them are actively screwing each other because they're only in it for themselves, not even for the organization.
Yeah. It's like one, and like you said, the global consciousness, like the global effect, the global sync, as you said, in sync with the global wave, is because the Dragon Balls are meant to better humanity.
Mhm.
So, like, speaking of ripple effects, plane of existence, like, yeah, Goku has the 4-star Dragon Ball, but the ripple effect of why the Dragon Balls were originally created, each world that they're on has a different, like, a little bit of a backing behind it, but they're all generally come down to when the world or the universe or something needs greater assistance, then a great warrior needs to gather them, and by gathering them proves that they're worthy of that wish, and it's for the good, either the good of that warrior's life or the good of whatever stewardship is there. So, like, the Earth Dragon Balls for Earth, the Mechian Dragon Balls for Namek, the gold, the Super Dragon Balls, they were for like the entire cosmos. But same thing, it takes effort to collect them, and there's always a challenge. You see this a little bit in Dragon Ball Daima, where the 3 Dragon Balls there, and like, spoilers for anyone who hasn't watched it, but this isn't really that big of a spoiler. The Dragon Balls were created for the Namekians, for whoever could prove they were great, then they earned the Dragon Balls, and then they got a wish. And it was like a yearly, or I don't know if it was yearly, but it was like an annual event is what they call it. So every so often they would gather and, hey, we all have a competition. The strongest gets to have it. When all the Namekians left the demon world, the Dragon Balls were still there, and they started getting used for bad stuff.
Oops.
And so then these beings got created. You have to defeat Tamaganian. I might be saying that completely wrong because it's I'm reading the subs. But that protects each Dragon Ball. So again, you have to prove you're worthy, and even then, to defeat it, it usually gives up. It doesn't like get demolished and destroyed. It gives up. So at that point, it goes, "Oh, I recognize your strength. I recognize your purity, or whatever," and surrenders. So coming back here, like the Dragon Balls, they're meant to help the world. Red Ribbon Army doesn't have that. So Goku is in sync with that because he's technically not going to use them for good yet. When he gets the first one from Commander Silver, or Captain Silver, Commander Silver, I don't know. I always mix up what rank they have because they bounce. There's a lot of ranks. Captains and colonels and commanders. There's commanders, captains, and colonels. There's a lot of them. And there's a couple generals. Yeah. If they would have thrown a few more like admirals in there, or vice admirals, like that would have like helped out a little bit with remembering who has what rank. But anyway, so Silver, when he runs into Silver, like Goku's neutral. His is, I just want the Dragon Ball that reminds me of Grandpa. That's a noble cause, technically. So it's in alignment with the Dragon Ball's ripple. So the Dragon Ball's plane of existence and Goku's plane of existence begin to sync up. Mm-hmm. Then they run into the plane of existence of the Red Ribbon Army, which is an opposing to the Dragon Ball's original curse. So yeah, like it works out that way. And like, yes, Goku's stronger and it works out that way. But we see this with like, I mentioned before that each one of the people they run into through Silver, White, Tao, Red, Violet, and so forth, they all represent the 7 deadly sins. So Silver is pride because he thinks he's the best of the best. Like he has these like professional boxers coming and he beats them in like a few seconds. And then like even like other people, like he's also skilled enough to catch bullets. Like a few times he catches bullets with his hands and drops them, like just like Goku and Master Roshi can. And even the Crane later on, we see can do this. Yeah. This idea of like I can catch bullets, which is funny. For a quick side note, the fact that Roshi can catch bullets and is also might be as bulletproof as Krillin and Goku, the fact that he dodges launch when she shoots at him is a respect move to launch. Yeah. He's respecting her current emotion and allowing her to have the cathartic moment.
Instead of stopping like, no, you're worthless.
Yeah. Like instead of just being like, well, she's bounced. Same with Goku. Like bullets have already bounced off Goku when like he's training with Master Roshi. Like, we've already seen Goku can't be hurt by bullets, and he still is like, ah. So that's like a general like
as a way to spank him, if anything.
Yeah, like it's one of those almost like martial arts calmness, inner zen, like a subconscious zen of I'm respecting you as a human being to let that come out of you. We'll just see later on in like Goku's things too. Like Goku always lets Bulma hit him. Like when she gets frustrated with him, like hit him in the chest. Same with Chi-Chi, she lets Chi-Chi hit him. Like Goku could easily dodge, but he allows the females to let their aggression out.
Or is it really that Chi-Chi and Bulma are just that over the top, and that's why they don't fight.
Maybe
they're too powerful.
They're too powerful. Yeah, there's a point in Super where Vegeta and Goku are like reminiscing, like comparing their wives and their feistiness, and Vegeta goes, "Yeah, Bulma's the closest thing to any." Or he goes, "Bulma reminds me of Saiyan women. Yeah. She's definitely the most Saiyan woman of all of Earth." And Goku goes, "I don't know, Chi-Chi's pretty feisty," and Piccolo goes, "They like it." Like Piccolo has this, like he gets like
clicks finally. That's why they're pairing off.
Yeah. Oh, like they like being commanded around, and like they would say something like Vegeta goes, "Yeah, but she's the only one that can like boss me," or something. He doesn't say it quite like that, but it's like in the general vibe of like, because they're fierce like us, they get to like, a lion has a lioness. Like it's that kind of vibe. Yeah, so like with Silver. Just to point out like how prideful he is, there's a point where he goes to like him and Goku like get ready to square off, and one of like right before they square off, one of the soldiers says something about Silver choosing to not go to the tournament. He's like, "You better watch out. Silver doesn't even go to the Technichi." I'm gonna say it wrong now because I'm like hyped up on caffeine a little bit, but the
Tenkaichi, I think.
Yeah, Tenkaichi, because it's Tenkaichi. Tenkaichi, because there's the two energies in there, Kai and Chi. And Ten is a form of martial arts, like Ten, where you're like tense up and like things bounce off of you. Gotcha. Which you actually see Krillin do that a couple of times, where like people just beat him up and he's like rock hard. You see Tien do it too a couple of times, but that's Ten. It's a form of Nin. So anyways, Ten, Kai, Chi. So 3 forms of energy. That's just gonna help me remember it always, and hopefully that helps anyone else that can't remember the tournament now that's been watching this. It's like, oh, I'll always remember now. It's like it's 3 forms of energy into one word. So in the Tenkaichi tournament, that's what he calls out. He goes, better watch out, kids. Silver doesn't even go to those because they're a waste of time. So there's a point that Silver thinks he's above the tournament. He thinks he's above the best of the best martial arts. I'm not even going to go to that. Yeah. And then Goku kicks his butt because he's so prideful. Because it's obviously that same vibe of like, you see it with other martial art fighters that show up later. There were like, that were past winners. Or there's even another guy that Goku fights one time. He's like, "You better watch out. I got 3rd in the tournament one time," or something like that, yeah. But they have never come back to the tournament. So there's a little bit of like, I got the goal and left, which is the same thing Roshi was afraid of Goku falling into if he won the first tournament. Mm-hmm. Almost gives the vibe of like that's what Silver would have been.
That's what Silver almost was. Almost there was a handful of years he was starting to get all, "Oh, I'm the best," and then he saw what the other Z-Fighters do and, "Oh crap, I better hit the gym." Yeah,
but he won 2. I mean, he won 2 championships back to back, and then had Cell.
Yeah, Cell happened.
Then Cell happened. Like he didn't get his reality blown until then. He was World Martial Arts Champion twice in a row, which technically, if even like from our knowing of the tournament, had never happened. Yeah, because you back up and you have Goku, and then the most you've had is Goku being in the finals 3 times, and that's like unprecedented. They even say like it's unprecedented for this many, if you're in the finals this many times, and before that you have King Choppa who won the one before that, and like so it's always like someone like wins once and you don't have these repeaters. So Hercule's a double repeater, like that's a huge deal, and then at that time, affiliates are a thing, so he gets rich.
Yeah, and they stopped holding those tournaments for a while because the tournament got blown up twice.
Yeah, because that's the thing is like it goes from every 3 years, and then it goes back to every 5 years. Mm-hmm. And that's why we miss one is because Gohan is born, and that would be 4 years after the tournament, and then Goku dies, and they spend a year training for the Saiyans. And that's when the tournament happens, that they're all off training for the Saiyans. And that's when Hercule wins the first time.
I remember them even mentioning at one of them that, they even mentioned the first thus and thus World Martial Arts Tournament, at least since the last one, they mentioned the one from Dragon Ball where everything went.
Yeah.
They were like, "Oh, we haven't held one since that one because it blew up."
Yeah. and you see, because they bring out the punching machine in Dragon Ball Z, and they say that they haven't, and someone says something about the preliminary rounds, and they go, "Oh, we haven't done that since this guy named Goku won the tournament." So that means the 2 cents that haven't had preliminary rounds. So even the 2 that Hercule won was pure strength. And then you get to fight, which to me, I think it was like, it's okay. But there's a little bit there where like the preliminary rounds had a thing there. It's like, yeah, you should be strong enough, but also it's like martial arts isn't always about how hard can you punch.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I
Mm-hmm.
mean, there are people out there that can punch harder than me, but like, I guarantee you, like, I can flip them around and like, I can probably choke them out before they can, throw their punch.
It's like, yeah,
Like, just because their punch could break 5 bricks doesn't mean they're gonna land it. So like, I thought the
true.
punching thing was kind of a cheap little. Is this still martial arts?
Right.
But anyways, coming back to this, so Silver loses because of his pride. Goku gets involved. Not the one I wanted. Beep beep beep. Off to the next one. uh,
I love that too. There's something about that, about the storyline element, the message that the villain at the top of his game, he thinks, at the top of the world, he thinks, at the top of the organization, he thinks, he's got so much power, so much going for him. The world is his oyster. Then this child takes it all from him.
Yep.
And then the reason was here was just this Dragon Ball. And even then he's like, well, I guess I'll keep it. Like, it's not even I finally got it. It's cool, I guess. I'm moving on now. And just the slap in the face, the ego, all of it. And it's speaking, well, when you invest your entire world into the wrong thing, that's what it's like. When you literally into an evil thing and it gets destroyed, well, you can only blame yourself.
Yeah. Or also, like, we have ego disillusions. Like, there's times in life where like you have an ego disillusion, and sometimes people call those ego deaths. I never really liked that whole term ego death, but even after I got into spirituality and I was like, oh, I've had ego deaths, it wasn't until I had a teacher that said, your ego doesn't die. It just dilutes it. It like gets dissolved and then gets recapitulated and comes back together. And it's a new thing. Just like soup. Like soup, you break down all these different ingredients and then you put them into a pot and then it warms up and they actually like their flavors mix. And it's like potatoes are no longer potatoes. They're now soup potatoes. So just like your ego dissolves, you're no longer you, but you're a newer you. So I always like that term, ego disillusion. What that happens, like we go through ego disillusions, whether by choice or by not. Sometimes if you're like, I'm gonna like dive into spirituality and do personal development, I'm gonna take a 6-month coaching thing,
Yeah.
or I'm gonna work with a coach for 6 months, or I'm gonna go to Peru and do a plant medicine, or I'm gonna go to Panama and do some cool shamanic transformational retreat there. Hint, hint. That's whisper, whisper. Um, that's a shift. That's an ego disillusion of choice. But for Silver, it was an ego disillusion of non-choice, which happens in life too. Like I've been slapped by the spiritual 2x4 before, where I think I've got it all figured out. I'm so cool. Look at me. And then life's like, dude, you're not even on the path you want to be on. You're not even doing the thing you said you wanted to do. And then it's like, slow motion this way, like,
Yeah.
it's like, oh, my bad. So Silver gets, spiritual 2x4, but kind of really gets Goku 2x4'd. Or Hanuman. As I've been calling Goku throughout Dragon Ball, he's very Hanuman to me.
He becomes a golden monkey.
Yeah. Which then brings us into White. So we talked a little bit about the snow stuff, which I always thought was hilarious. The girl that's in the cold mountains area, her name is Snow, which is funny. But Toriyama and his names, like he's pretty clever. He picks a theme and sticks with it for a little bit. You see this, with the Saiyans, they're all named after vegetables.
I remember thinking it was so silly, like growing up, but then like now as an adult, especially as a prospective writer too, it's just its own cool kind of simple brilliance.
Mm-hmm.
Now like it makes, to use this funny word, it makes it more digestible.
Yeah, makes it more digestible, definitely. I can't remember what the Ginyu Force is, but all of their names are a pun off of something else in Japanese as well. And then they kept more of the Japanese names, so we didn't realize it. Just like Vegeta and so forth. But like Garlic Jr. comes on, everyone's spices. It's Garlic Jr., paprika, pepper, cinnamon,
salt, pepper, cinnamon.
Yeah, like, which is like, oh, funny, but it's also like, yeah, that's like I said, ingenious little writing. It's like these characters are only going to exist for about 10 episodes. I'm not going to give them a super significant thing because they're only going to exist for a while,
Yeah, like you have, I think Frieza, because Frieza and the Ginyu Force, and then Cooler and his Cooler Force, they both have that same thing where Frieza, and then I believe it was things that are refrigerated, no, things that are frozen,
Things
like foods that are
yeah,
frozen.
things that can be frozen.
And then it was cooler were, I think it was like types of custard or ice cream, all
Yeah.
of his little cast.
Yeah. Where things were frozen freezer, and then things were kept cold, like in the fridge. So like one's in the freezer, one's in the fridge, and then same thing when the dad gets made, like he's just called King Cold.
Yeah.
But that's also like at the time I wonder how much of that was like, oh, I made Frieza, and like I guess okay, like we'll just keep this thing going with the this.
You look online at the fan communities that do their like fanfics, and they pick that up, and you'll have like whole generations of the Frieza race, and they're all other variations of just the word cold, cryo, frozen, like just
Yep.
every cool temperature word they could come up with, just because that is apparently the way we name that race now.
Yes.
And then with Saiyans, it's you'll see the weirdest names, and it's because, well, how many different ways can I slice the word cucumber down into a cool name?
Into a cool name.
Everyone's using it.
Everyone's using it. Yeah. Oh, and we see, we get it in there. Which also like quick fun thing. I mean, this is jumping into Super for a moment, but like with the names, you have Vegeta first shows up with Nappa, who is like Nappa, cabbage, or and then you have later you have Kaba, who is cabbage, and it's like completely different versions of Vegeta. Vegeta kills Nappa because Nappa killed Piccolo and destroyed the Dragon Balls, and then Kappa he takes on essentially as like a unspoken protege. Like just interesting, difference, like almost the same fruit though.
What's interesting is his mother, canonical mother, King Vegeta's wife, was Queen Cassava. And the cassava is a type of tuber. I think it's I can't even remember anymore.
Another like root vegetable?
Cuber, almost like cucumber-like.
Oh, okay.
But like it's like one of the bigger, weird looking white ones that you see in all of the animes.
Gotcha.
But like she's Queen Cassava, and it's going into that. Toriyama was like, I'm never gonna write this. I'm not gonna give him a quick order. And then eventually he saw the fan base was so much like they wanted the complete picture of the Vegeta family and the whole story. So he's like, well, yeah, he can't have come from nowhere.
Yeah.
And so, if there's gonna be a mother figure, you can't have Vegeta have a mom and turn out like Vegeta. He clearly doesn't have any mothering, or else he wouldn't be Vegeta. He'd be much softer.
Yeah, there's got to be a
so she's
point.
like, how do I give him a mother, but make sure she's out of the picture? And it's, well, Queen Cassava is just that kind of woman that's just like, well, I don't want to be in the house. I don't want to be in the kitchen. I don't want to be with the family raising the kids. I am Queen Cassava. I'm a warrior. So she's that kind of Saiyan. She's out there all the time.
Yeah. Exactly.
And that's what he wrote as just as why you don't see her, and why originally you wouldn't see many Saiyan women is originally was they're crazier than the men are, and they're out there doing their thing.
They're out there doing their thing. Exactly, yeah. Well, and they had a few of, like the parties, like when we first see Bardock, he's got like a couple on his little team
with him,
and then later on, but yeah, like you didn't see a lot of the females because they're out there doing it. But again, if they're that ferocious, and of course, like the queen would be the most, Saiyan of the Saiyan-y, which it just makes me think of, like if Bulma was a Saiyan.
She was out there on her own in her car when she hit Goku.
So
she was doing that thing.
And then she still does it. Like she comes home from school because it's early. This is a perfect example of like what goes on here, like with the Red Ribbon Army, because like Goku's Dragon Radar breaks. He ends up in the big city to like look for her. And then she comes home early from school that day or whatever, because like she got bored and there's just so much above it. Dad pisses her off and she's like, I'm going on an adventure with Goku. And then just takes off. And then her plane of existence is, I'm super smart. I don't really need school. I can create anything. I can go on adventures whenever I want. Like I'm already technically like, and also like the way like Japanese schooling works. It's like by 17, sometimes like they're in college. Like they're actually past.
They've gone through their prep school. Yeah. They're going to college.
Yeah. So like first years are like freshmen. And they're usually 17 to 18. And then like 18 to 19-year-olds are second years. And, so most of them, like they have a bachelor's or the, quote unquote, the equivalent of a bachelor's by the time they're 21, 22. And then, so that's why the way the professions work. So in that ideal of that sense, she's technically in that point where it's like, she's actually probably in college at this point. Cause this is after the first world tournament. Well, I guess so she's 12, he's 12, she's 15. But anyways, point being like, she's wrapping up high school, but I'm going off on an adventure. And her parents are just like, she's at that age. And she's like being rude to them. She's at that age. just lets it all fly. She goes on her like it's clearly like she's smart enough, capable enough, she's fine.
Mm-hmm.
And then she gets trapped on Master Roshi's island for a while and like builds a like
That's
like
right.
out of a VCR and like a few other things, builds another dragon radar that can go find Goku to watch Goku on his adventures. But like her point
I
of
forgot she got stuck on the island.
yeah, which I mean it's always like I don't even know like when that like wraps up because just like at some point Roshi just has another capsule and they leave. So at some point like Goku is running around with the Red Ribbon Army, like a boat comes and she's still just chilling on the island because she wants to. But like there hits a point where what was I say like she goes off on the adventure with him because but her point is I'm off on an adventure. To him, Red Ribbon Army exists, but they're just another bully. Like to him, the Red Ribbon Army is the same as like Pilaf to him.
Yeah.
Which speaking of like the first Dragon Ball, it's like I can't remember how many episodes it is, but it's like 4 or 5 episodes before the first Dragon Ball gets gathered. Because when Goku goes to Bulma, he only has 2. He has the one from White and the one from Silver. But in Silver's, you watch Pilaf like get it, and then you watch like the Red Ribbon Army chase Pilaf for a while, and then Goku thinks he gets it from them, and he doesn't really. And then eventually, the Red Ribbon Army takes down Pilaf, and they get the Dragon Ball. And then it's like the next episode, 30 seconds later, Goku has it. Like Silver does all this effort and like flexes the whole time, you know, flexes all the guns and everything in his spaceship or his thing. So his point being is like we talked enough a little bit about like the snow arc for a moment. And the only thing I'll say on that is like White it represents Sloth. And the reason I'm pulling that in there, how the Dragon Ball went and how Bulma gets involved, is the whole arc of Muscle Tower is Muscle Tower. It's Muscle Tower is this big thing. It's a mini arc. It's the second Dragon Ball, and Goku goes through level by level, beating things up, but all with the course of I'm here to help the village. And he also is like getting trained. Like he does Kamehameha on like the first thing that he fights, or maybe not the first, but the second like this big robot he fights, and it blows off its head, and it keeps coming. So he Kamehamehas it again, and it keeps coming. This is the first time his Kamehameha wave, other than fighting Jackie Chan, hasn't worked. So now he's realizing there's people outside the tournament that are stronger than me. Because at the time, you just saw Jackie Chan, me.
Yeah.
You know? And so this whole thing, and then as he goes through, he finds that there are other people that are stronger than him, other things that pushes limits. And then there are sneaky people that try to do hostage situations and weird things. And so Sloth, General White, or gets Sloth. And he's just behind the thing, sitting there the whole time. You know, and then eventually, like, when Goku finally fights him, he takes a hostage, or then like tries to trick him, and okay, I'll surrender, and you know all this stuff, and eventually he beats them, and they go back to the village, and so forth, and it all works out great. But the one interesting thing I want to point out there just a little bit is like we see the first android that we get introduced to, Ader.
First android, yeah,
Ader,
Frankenstein.
Yeah, which is funny because he's so kind-hearted, and then there's a guy that they go to get the bomb taken out of his chest, and you find out that's the guy that made Ader. So it's just interesting that like the Red Ribbon Army obviously had multiple scientists that weren't necessarily working for them, because you see with this guy, he was almost kind of like, no, you're gonna come work for us. And so, you know, Dr. Gero, who later creates the other androids, like we learn out from Android 16 that Android 16 is like of Dr. Gero's son. And Dr. Gero's son was in the Red Ribbon Army and was like somehow died in some kind of battle thing of some sort. Now this is fan theory, pure fan theory, and also a little bit of a fan theory I like and I agree with a little bit. But when Goku goes and fights the Red Ribbon Army, and like there's times he's just killing soldiers that they got in the way. Like there's a few times you see them parachute, a few times you see stuff, but sometimes like a ship comes at him and he makes it blow up, and he just goes on his way. Or he kicks over a thing and it blows up, and it's like, so there's this thing where like the Red Ribbon Army gets wiped out due to Goku, but a section of them retire. And there's something like it where I can't remember what number they throw out there, but it's like, you know, there's a point where Red is like in his tower and they're coming in, and he's like, send them all in. He's like, no, he's wiped out 2/3 of our forces, and the other third have left. So like they got deserted. So it's like there might be a thing in there that Goku killed Dr. Gero's son. unintentionally, but also intentionally. Like, not like, I know who you are, but you're a red ribbon soldier, you're attacking me. And because, like, the recording we hear later is like, that sounds like the whole base is getting attacked.
Yeah.
And they even say in the Android arc, when they look at the date, they realize that's the date that Goku was at the main base. And
so going with that theory, I remember
Yeah.
when I first bought all of the mangas as a teenager. Well, teenager, that's an accurate. I was 19, so
You're a
technically
teenager.
but technically, adult. But so I was buying them all, and I remember reading through that battle, and I remember taking one of those comics up to my friend and being like, dude, look at this part. And it's one of the parts where if I remember right, it was the base was like collapsing down. It was like falling apart right afterwards. Yeah. And one of those guys looked like 16 in just a henchman suit.
Yeah.
Just looked like him. And I was just like, what if that's actually him right there? And it's, who knows, like, if Toriyama really was planning that much that far back. But there is the other scene in Pilaf's Tower in the very first season, the very first run of the comic, where one of the paintings on his wall that he's admiring, he's like, yeah, most people think that's a comic, but I don't quite think it's a comet. Moving on, fine art, moving on. That painting looks like a Saiyan capsule re-entering Earth, or entering Earth's atmosphere.
Earth, yeah.
And it's like, the more I pause it and I've looked at that, and I've looked at that and looked at it, and the more I look at it, the more I'm like, it's even got the purple glass on there. Like, that is a Saiyan pod that somebody got a picture of, and Pilaf bought it because he's like, that's cool.
Yeah.
And so there it is. And while they're talking about that, they're talking about the strangeness of that kid they captured, Goku in the cell. So it's even like, I really do think Toriyama back then, storyline 1 was going, oh, this kid's an alien, and I've got all this plans.
Oh, yeah.
And so when he was doing this, like, the Red Ribbon's got these androids, I think back then he was already pioneering the android idea. Whether or not he was really going to go with it in the end, it was already being written down and then left there until the android saga came, and he just wrote it all out.
With it, yeah. And I very well think that could be there, because, like, this is a thing that I hear from sometimes people. I remember early on, like, people be like, oh yeah, Goku became a Saiyan later. He wasn't always a Saiyan. It was based off of, the other story that, there. And it's like, no, actually, he was always meant to be an alien. Like, that's the thing. Like things like that pointed out. But if you notice throughout the saga, especially as we're watching it over again, there are multiple times when characters say he's not of this world. Goku is beyond this.
I think Pilaf even says, "Why are you an alien or something?"
Right? Yeah, and that gets in multiple. He'll call him an alien. Like, even in the tournament, he gets called an alien.
Yes.
And so, like, there's these things where it's like, yes, that was always, I think, was known. I think that was always meant as a part of it, that Goku came from outer space, and that was a part of it, and it was there. The android thing, like, maybe he might have been planting that seed early on, but also because he doesn't take notes, there might have been an idea in his head. As well as it could have very well been that when the android came up, like, oh, we're going to make androids again. I'm going to make androids. He goes, oh, wait, Red Ribbon Army. I'm pretty sure Goku, like, he killed a lot of people, and that'd be a great revenge arc that's, like, not Goku's, kind of Goku's fault, kind of not. He could have just gone back to his old Magna, found a soldier, and been like, I'm going to make that. So I don't know if it was, like, fully planned ahead of time, but I definitely think there was at least he looked back at his previous work and picked that soldier to be Android 16. Or that was always meant to be Android 16. Like, one of the two.
Yeah.
But just knowing how Toriyama doesn't keep notes, and a few things have fallen through the cracks over thing, I think it's more likely he went back and picked someone he had already drawn to pull from.
Yeah, because, like, me and my friend, we both looked at that image on the paper, and we were like, it looks like 16, in a henchman suit. It really does. You can almost see his orange hair under the helmet, even. It's just 2 frames of them, like, at a console, and then going, as the ceiling is falling on them, and it's just like, it's just enough of 2 different angles of the guy to be like, that looks like 16.
Yeah. Well, there's also been times they've gone back and redone the Magna, like, they've added things into the Magna or adjusted it. Which I didn't know that until, like, someone was talking about on one of the videos, that Toriyama's final work, like his actual final work, was touching up the Super Magna, and it's a point where Piccolo was saying bye to Pan, and he goes, "Bye, I'll see you later," and that was his final work. Is he drew the bubble, and he was like, "No, Piccolo should say something here." So he goes in there and he draws the bubble for Piccolo to be saying something, and his final work is, "Bye, see you later."
Wow,
like,
that's interesting.
Isn't it crazy? Like, so, like, people are like, "Oh, he knew," and it's like, no, maybe not. But the fact is that, like, they add stuff to the Magna. So it could have also been when he made 16, they went back to the Magna and put 16 in. Who knows? Like, just knowing, like, I don't know Toriyama like personally, but from like his works and other things that people have said about his works, I could see any of those three things happening. He could be that far ahead visionary, or go back and pull from his sources, or be like, let's add that into the Magna now, and we'll see if anyone ever gets it. Who knows? But that's kind of the cool thing though, is like with that fan theory that's there, you know, and like that you know, you point that out. It's like maybe it's not so much of a fan theory. Maybe that really is what he always intended was. Because why does Dr. Gero hate Goku so much?
It just pops up out of nowhere.
Yeah. And it's just like, okay, yeah, he destroyed the Red Ribbon Army, but like,
Gero didn't start the Red Ribbon Army.
Yeah.
He was just a guy, a scientist in it. And in the, I think it was in the Dead Zone movie, which sure the movies aren't canon, but certain elements you can say are, like when they talk about how Red Ribbon Army had a group of scientists working alongside Gero, that Gero did not like any of them.
Yeah.
Why drop that line, right?
Yeah.
It means that, well, he wasn't their chief. They're one guy. He was one of their guys.
One of their guys. Well, and I think that's the thing, too, that someone pointed out to me, or I should say someone, like one of the YouTubes that I was watching, like, that I was just like looking at like other fan theories, pointed out to me, the Dragon Ball movies are canon, but the Dragon Ball Z movies are alternate realities.
Okay, so there's that's
so
quite a few Dragon Ball movies.
Well, yeah, because there's one where he's a kid, and then there's 2 or 3 of them where Piccolo is with him as an adult, and that's the Dead Zone, the World's Strongest, and that's the one with the scientist. And then I think the only one I'm thinking about is just the one where Goku's a kid, in the movie. So there's 3 Dragon Ball movies that I can remember, but those are technically canon. It's the Dragon Ball Z ones are alternate realities, apparently. And even then, Toriyama didn't come out and say that until Super came out, and people were trying to figure stuff out, and he's like, all the Dragon Ball Z movies are alternate realities of what could have been. If anything's going to be canon, I will include it in the anime. And then that's why he included Gods of Destruction and Resurrection F into the anime to be good on his word of like, hey, look, like, this is canon. And so he brought back Broly because he liked Broly, but I like the way he brought back Broly so much better. Literally, like, this Broly, or the other Broly, the non-jeweled Broly.
I do like them both, but I've even gone back and with our friend Clayton, we watched the first Broly movie and then the new one back to back. Just like, if you're gonna watch the new one, you need to know what the original was, because that was all we had for decades.
Yeah.
And so, and even he admitted, like, that is just a premium, awesome, holy crap version of Broly, but it's an over the top version of Broly. He's like 2000% Broly. But this one is like, well, I don't have just 1 hour to tell the story. I can actually tell a story. That's what I like about that one, is he went back and gave the character justice because he loved his character.
Yes.
And I really like that.
Yeah. And then Broly becomes a character that can come back later, which he does in the Super Manga. He's part of it. He's there. He's fully involved in different aspects. I shouldn't say fully involved, but he's there and involved. But it's like that wasn't an option. Where with the way the Broly was, and I guess I shouldn't say, like, I like the first Broly movie. I really do. Like, I still like Broly, the old Broly, but I like the first movie. What turned me off with Broly was the second, third, and fourth Broly, because he just comes back as a bigger, stronger being. And so then he's just this repeating evil force that just shows up every now and then. Like, to me, he felt like Darkseid and Superman, where Darkseid can kill Superman whenever he wants. And he actually even does that in the comics. He shows up, beats the crap out of Superman, parades Superman around Earth just to prove he could do it, and then leaves. And goes, I'm not going to destroy the Earth. But just leaves it as like I could. And that's how I always felt Broly was. Like, he comes back and like they just barely beat him, you know. Then he comes back as a cyborg, and Trunks and Goten beat him, which
bile bullcrap.
Yeah, which I do agree that Trunks and Goten are strong enough to beat him, but it was also, again, it's like, oh, here's this again, you know. It felt a little Terminator too, of like oh, here's Terminator 4, the Terminators are back again. All those people that died and sacrificed themselves in the other 3 movies didn't matter.
Broly exploding in the planet that he was on, being annihilated by a comet. Oh no, he's fine. He's fighting an axe cube and somehow crashed on Earth and only has a little scar. Like, what?
Yeah.
I watched him blow up.
Yeah.
Like, wow.
Yeah. But the first one, I really liked the first one where it was like everybody had to go Super Saiyan. Everyone had to like,
It took everything.
Yeah, it took 4 Super Saiyans and Piccolo to blow him out of the water. Which, side note for Dragon Ball Abridged, that's a really good one to watch of the Abridged with Broly.
Oh, yeah.
And I like how like one of my favorite parts of that one is just like the funny thing they mention the Dragon Ball Z movies that are not canon in the Abridged, and they mention all of them except for Lord Slug. And when they're all flying away, Piccolo's like, I just want to point out, no one mentioned Lord Slug, and I find that a little racist. When they talk about all the other movies,
Yes.
because they even make reference to Gohan's movie with BoJack, when Gohan goes like slandering the ground, and he goes, "Dad, he's really strong." He goes, "It's okay, son. I think the next movie's yours with some pirate dude, but you win." Like, just like, hey, there's another movie coming out. We obviously make it through this one.
They make it through. Team 4 Star doesn't.
Yeah, Team 4 Star does a great job with the bridge, but that's not canon, but it's still funny. So I've gone off on like a lot of tangents with our Red Ribbon Army Dragon Ball.
It's hard not to, because again, Gero continually comes up everywhere else in the show and in the story, and his creations come up over and over and over. So the first one is 8, and that's one thing I wanted to mention is we technically don't see 1 through 7.
Nope.
There are in the fan base, you could claim that like in Wolf's Finest and Denzel, that those robots were technically androids, but even in the like Toriyama official guide works, they're not named androids. They're just named as this robot or that villain.
Yeah, that villain.
And so we never see the first 7 androids. And I've also heard it theorized it's because, well, that's because they weren't called Android 1, Android 2. It was that robot that serves this purpose in the background, or this little cleaning droid in the Red Ribbon base. Okay, I could see how those could have been the first iterations. And it makes sense. Even in humanity, the first robots we've made are like the thing that assembles a car door.
Yeah, exactly.
So, okay, yeah, I could see the first 7 being menial, normal things, like the thing that cleans my car, the thing that cleans my room, or the thing that checks the soldiers' stamps, or identities as they walk in the base. And then number 8, that's the one that's next tier entirely. Even AI is doing that, where you have all these iterations, and then AGI is coming up, which they say is going to be the one that can take care of everything. Well, okay.
Yeah, we'll see. Yeah. Well, and then like, AGI is the thing that's coming up, that's becoming a bigger thing. Like you said, like you see the earlier innovations, and they each grow up and they become a newer thing. And like I said, like 8, it's like, yeah, you could see how that would be the 8 thing there. But that's like the part that's always got me a little bit with the 8 or 2. Because like that's, I mean, Dragon Ball has a lot of plot holes, like, let's be honest. Which, like, but at the same time is so well written, none of us care about the plot holes. Well, some other animes could have these kind of plot holes and it kills the show. These don't. But like an example, like the encyclopedia, like pointing that out, of being like, oh yeah, these other ones could have been these past ones. Okay, cool, I agree with. Except for the fact that all the other androids were humans that became robots. Ader was alive and they brought him back to life. 16 was the body adjusted of his son. Even 17 and 18, they point out when they ask him like what they like did before, and they say, well, we don't have much memory before Dr. Gero jacked us. Like, in the actual show, they say something a little softer, but it essentially like it hints at that they were kidnapped and forced into it. In Dragon Ball Bridge, they just straight out say it. They're like, yeah, before he silenced the Lambd and Leatherfaced us, like, they just point out that like we were kidnapped, forced into this. So either they died somehow and their bodies were used against their will to come back. But that's the one thing that gets me a little bit with that. It's like, wait, no, seriously, back up. Where is 1 through 7? Like, whose humans were used in that direction?
Oh yeah,
because you even see with Dr. Gero's grandson in Super, and in the Super Magna, all of his creations are called androids, but they're dead bodies that he attached into it. And then he goes and has them like work a convenience store or whatever to make money. But again, he calls them androids too, but they're bodies he pulled out of the cemetery. And
what Cell and 21 are the only ones that technically don't conform to that, because Cell is biologically built from scratch.
Yeah.
And then 21, she was another Red Ribbon scientist that just converted herself over.
Yeah.
So everyone else was a dead body.
Was a dead
Seems
body.
like.
Yeah, exactly. Or was a live participant that didn't know what they were getting into, didn't know what they were volunteering in for, and so forth. And we see this a little bit with Ader. Bringing back to Dragon Ball, he's peaceful. He's like the most like gentle giant, and then like they've never used him to fight. And the one time they tried to use him to fight, he's like, "No, thank you." And it's like clearly you guys didn't like this is obviously, yeah, he's number 8, he's an experiment. It's like you picked a random body, brought it back, the consciousness of the actual person is still there. Like that's why 17 18 are a little different.
16 too. There's hard programming in them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but also they have their own personality a little bit, because technically we're going way into Dragon Ball Z, which is totally fine, but like you see this when Piccolo goes to Kami to get Kami to fuse with him so they'll be strong enough to fight the androids. Kami goes, I haven't seen them do anything evil yet. I've shown you guys show up. They killed the guy that abused them. He doesn't use those words, but that's essentially what he hints at. He's like, they killed Dr. Gero, who took advantage of them. And then he's like, and then you guys showed up and they fought you and kicked your butts. Like, they haven't done anything wrong yet. They haven't actually committed evil. We're told in Trunks' time they're evil, but it's like, what actually led to that? And then you see that they want to go, like, kill Goku. Mainly only because 16 is dead set on it. Like, even in the actual one, they're like, they're like, do you have to go that? And they're like, well, it's kind of in our programming, but, we'll see. Like 17 is very... Yeah, like 17 and 18 are very like, we just want to have some fun. We want to go out and do our own thing. And 16 is the only one that's got that hardwire, but he's also not finished. He's not, like Dr. Ro points out, he's not finished yet. So he's partial programming, and he gets obviously stuck on the must kill Goku. But then he likes birds, and he begins to like the other things, and gains enough of a personality that he triggers Gohan into Super Saiyan 2. But like pulling it all back, in that sense, it's like Dr. Gero pulls up so much, and like, but at the same time, all through the Dragon Ball arc, we never actually hear of him. Like Ader's created by a different scientist. We never hear about Dr. Gero until the Dragon Ball movies. Like he's not mentioned except for there, and so even then, he's a pull from there when he comes up in Dragon Ball Z. But so I just think that's interesting in that sense, and a little bit, yeah.
That sent me into a reread once where I'd finally gotten to the Android saga, and Gero was over there being like, haha, I've been watching all of your battles, gathering data. Like, we clearly didn't see our battles in space, just so you know we can do this, bam, Super Saiyan.
Yeah.
And I'm like, he's been watching. I wondered. And then I actually went back in all of the manga again, just to see if there was any parts where it showed a little hovering red ribbon camera watching.
Or like the little bug.
Or a little bug or something. And I didn't see anything, but like, I really it had me for some I wonder. And then there was one point where I don't know if I was just paranoid enough or just new enough, but I was just like, could it be that Gero, when he like put himself into the robot body, there's that there's a theory of quantum transcendence where once you put enough technology into you, or you convert yourself into technology, you get a quantum leap of the subconscious ability of processing data, and you become a quantum AI. Because the human art has the potential for it, it's just the technology unlocks that potential.
Gotcha.
So then, would that have happened to Gero? And it wasn't really that I had a camera on you for 20 years, Goku, and it was more like he fourth wall quantum leap, and he just went, oh, I'm now aware of things that have happened on Earth, all of the things that have happened on Earth. Because there were battles that happened that there were no cameras. They were in the middle of the boonies. You watched any technology that was on the person when they went power up exploded.
Yeah.
There's no camera watched that fight. So I wonder if he just quantum AI would blink and just went, oh, no, I've seen them all now.
Maybe. Well, and then there's the part of it, though, that he gets the DNA from a few of them. So, like, him getting Goku's DNA makes sense. Like, there's plenty of opportunities for that.
Oh, yeah.
Him getting Piccolo's DNA, it's like, okay, well, you were obviously either you got it from King Piccolo or you got it from during the tournament, which that was around then.
Yeah.
And then the Saiyans, he got Vegeta's, but the Vegeta, like the Saiyan arc, was being filmed, and they even say the Z Fighters are there to defend us and so forth, and that all goes on until Goku shows up. So up until that point, he could have gotten it from Vegeta until then, and then the fact that he has Frieza's. This is the part where it's like at some point he did have some kind of technology. I mean, obviously to get the DNA, he had something following around, But the fact that he got Frieza's means that there was at some point, oh sorry, while Goku was off planet, was off in somewhere else, he still had something following around the other Z fighters.
Oh, I would have think it would have been when Trunks killed Frieza.
Well, because he gets Frieza's DNA. Yeah, like for but he gets Frieza's DNA and King Cole's DNA before Trunks blows them up. Because he chops Frieza up and then he burns him to crisp, annihilates his entire body.
Oh, that would have had to have been like, did you have a droid catch a flick of blood falling from the sky?
Yeah. So wow. In the anime, they show this like tiny little bug thing that's like has a camera and like has like obviously like mosquito like. So it must have been something like that. Like they're all standing around talking. It does that, but in order for it to be there, that means that it had to be following like Vegeta on Earth, which makes sense. You'd be the strongest one, or Piccolo, but probably following Vegeta on Earth. And then they show up, and he's like, "Oh, they're all concerned about whatever's over there. I'm gonna go check out what that is." Because Cell gets Frieza's cells, but he doesn't know about Namek. So
that's true. They had no idea they even left the planet. They were just like, "Oh well, we stopped following it at that point because it didn't matter anyway. I had all my data."
Yeah. So I feel like there's a point where it's like when he put his brain into the computer, that was doing its thing and was on its own operation to create Cell, and then he had himself still in the android body. I think he actually created two of himself, and the one that he put into the computer did what you said, like it quantumed. It quantum went that way, but the one that he left here, so he hologrammed, and the hologram evolved, and he stayed because he's not aware of Super Saiyan 2, and also the fact too that like he doesn't like he's aware of that there's what's going on in the basement, but I don't know. There's just a few. I mean, it could just be a simple Toriyama plot hole thing. But the fact that he doesn't know about Namek, but then Cell has Frieza cells, means that he had to get it when they came to Earth, which means he had to have been following them. But in order for them to be following them, he would have seen Super Saiyan because Trunks goes Super Saiyan. So for the android to not know about Super Saiyan,
yeah.
I just figured this out right now. Like just right now when we were talking, I was like, wait a minute, something doesn't line up, and that could just be Toriyama plot hole. And we could write up for that, or we can go fan style and be like, oh, it all makes sense.
The only way I can make sense of that, because again, Trunks is coming from time.
Yeah.
He's already time traveling, so you would have had to. No, because him showing up changes it. And therefore, at that point, if that fight was being watched, regardless if he the time transported himself there or not, there would have been, if without him, there would have been no concept of Super Saiyan. Well, no, because then they would have fought Frieza and King Cold, and they'd probably gotten their asses kicked.
Yeah. Well, and then this is the thing too. This is the little gap. Trunks is the baby when this happens. When he comes back, he says 2 androids will appear. He assumes because he gets the date right, he gets the city right, and he's only off by like an hour or so. A couple hours. Like it's still but it's still 2 androids show up.
He gets the wrong 2.
But did he get the wrong 2? Because all he knows is 2 androids showed up and killed. Like,
he's citing history. He wasn't there either.
He wasn't. I mean, he was there as a baby, and Bulma only shows up with the baby because he gave the warning. So that's the only part that he changed is that Bulma is there with the baby. But otherwise, Bulma would have been at home with the baby, and they wouldn't have shown up as a group. They would have shown up individually as something happened. Vegeta wouldn't have been able to go to Super Saiyan 2. So the Z fighters would have been killed by 2 androids.
That's right. That's right. It's pointed out in Super that 17 doesn't understand the concept of you guys have to power up first.
Yeah,
and that's which immediately explains how he got them all in the Trunks timeline. Was he just before they could do anything, and therefore they were all just basically humans, humans.
But also at the same time,
flashback of Vegeta losing to 18. Vegeta is Super Saiyan, but he's not pumped up Super Vegeta. He's just Super Saiyan. So again, they caught him before he could go full power.
Yeah.
Which explains all of that. They killed everyone before they could power up, and so it was just too easy for them. Mm-hmm. And then the 17 that we see that goes all the way to Super is just like, what? Wait, what? You guys have to power up first? Because he never got to see any of that.
Never saw any of that.
Because the Cell thing happened.
The whole Cell thing happened. He got absorbed by Cell. Well, even then, to the memory, like the flashback we have where Vegeta gets beat by 18, that's the current timeline. That's the main timeline where he goes Super Saiyan and 18 beats him right after they come out of the lab. So technically, that memory of where we think Vegeta got killed by 18 is Trunks thinking that's what happened. Trunks' whole thing is he thinks 17.
That's right. He's going off of the information he was told by his mom.
By his mom. So he thinks 17 and 18 are the main killers, which they are destroying humanity. But this is, my theory a little bit, but it's like the concept too of that, like, we actually don't know if Dr. Gero, like, that he'd changed, because that's another fan theory out there. And Toriyama, when he was asked about it in an interview, like, did Android 19 and 20, did they exist in Trunks' timeline? And he goes, well, probably, because Gero existed. So he doesn't clarify it, but he almost kind of is like, well, yeah, of course they existed. So in that sense, it's 20 and 19 that kill all the Z fighters. Goku's dead from a heart attack, and then something happens when 17 and 18 come out. They kill 19 and 20.
I was just about to think that I'll bet they killed the first two because 19 is Gero, 20 is following everything Gero says, so they're gonna kill them both.
And they obviously, when they come out anyways, they already are planning to kill Gero. Like when they come out, like when he wakes them up again, they're both on it.
The history of Trunks shows a flashback where he has them awake once already. He even mentions, "Oh, don't touch that one. That's for later. He'll be superior. He'll surpass all of you because you two are malfunctions." They're already disobeying. They're already willful. They're already talking about fighting him instead of doing the programming. And at one point, he picks up the controller because 17 is starting to go and pick it up and mess with it. He's like, "Give me that!" And then he says, "I'm done with you," and turns them both off.
Yeah.
And so it's already going that way, but he's already building the other one. Oh man!
Yeah, so when it hits pause,
that's probably when they were like, "Next time I'm awake, you're dead."
Because that was literally what was going on. It's like if you pause, like if you turn off your game, like in the middle of you playing a game or something, you turn it off in the midway, and you turn it back on. Most of our newer systems will take you right back into that boss fight that you were at. It won't take you back to the main screen. It'll take you right back into the boss fight because you didn't close out. That's essentially what Gero does. He just turns them off. He doesn't close them down. He doesn't shut them down. He turns them off.
Program.
And he resets the program. So they come back into the action of, oh, you're in kick. And they go, wait a minute. We're coming out of our cells. Last I remember, we were arguing. I was going to kill you. Okay, how do I make that happen? Right. So, like,
as he's telling them, hey, you need to go out there and beat them because they're going to get all
they're
of us. They're going to get us. Yeah, but we already want to get you.
Yeah. And so whatever happened in Trunks' timeline, at some point, he lets them out and they kill him immediately. It might have been later on. It might even been something going on with, because by the time Trunks and Gohan are fighting Android at 18 and 17, Trunks is 10, 11 years old. So 10 years has happened
for a while.
So at some point, Gohan might have gone to fight Gero, and they might have got let out. Like, we don't know. We don't have any of that part. Even in the histories of Trunks, we never know at what point they actually get let out. We know that Gero does it, but at the same time, it's clear that Gero didn't release them to go kill the Z fighters. Trunks just thinks that. And because when they point out that like time history can change, and they bring this up in Super, when he points out this is how it happened before to like Beerus, and Beerus is like upset about it, but then things don't change. There's something where he's like, yeah, nothing changed, and Beerus goes, oh, how was I to know? And like that was one thing that always like stuck with me for a moment. I was like, wait a minute. When Trunks jumps back in time any other time, it greatly changes the timeline they're in. So it's like, but they took care of Zamasu here. And so like there's just a few things where it's like, wait a minute, how does his ripple effect cause Gero to turn himself into an android and make another android, all because you warned them the androids were coming? Even if that little bug heard him say, oh, the androids are coming, like, why would Gero be like, I need to be an android now? Unless that was already the plan. And so this comes back a little bit to our planes of existence, like our ripple effects of reality. Him seeing that data or whatever, because even just now I have a memory of like, I think the bug does get destroyed when he kills Frieza. Maybe not, I can't remember. I remember there's a point where he goes offline or something like that. But anyways, point being, with all of that, it's like planes of existence. It's like Gero's plane of existence was already to create androids to kill Goku. Mm-hmm. He was already in the plane of existence. I'm going to turn myself into an android to keep living. Because also, he would have had to have done that at some point because he put his brain in the computer. And so it's like, he obviously at some point put himself in there way before Trunks came. He might already be an android before Trunks shows up. Because if you're an old guy, you have the ability to create androids. You might see the weight, and you've already put your brain into a computer. You've probably just figured out a way to have immortality.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. When they show the flashbacks with him talking to 17 and 18 before he shuts them off, and he says that 16 is going to replace you. He's already a robot. He's got his hat off, and it's his robot brain. So
Yeah.
like he's already a robot too. And they don't, and like you said, they don't say how long that process has already gone on. All we know is there's this Dr. Drone, the Red Ribbon Army, kind of amorphously, and then when we finally see him, he's like, I've already become an android.
Yeah.
So it's like, ooh. But that flashback says within the last at least 5 years or so, he was already a robot in that cave building the others.
And in that 5-year gap, the way that would have worked, because the way that works too is that obviously they weren't awake during the 3 years where they were training. So it's like, even if the 5 years includes that, even if it doesn't include that, that means that gives, so let me back up here. If that 5 years includes the 3 years of them training, that's 2 years before Trunks shows up, which that's 2 years takes them back to being on Namek. Because Goku's only gone for a year.
Yeah.
So that's either back to when they're on Namek or right when they've gotten back from Namek, where that would have had to have happened. And then if it's 5 years before the 3 years of them training, that puts it back in the Saiyan Saga, which doesn't quite line up because Cell's in formation.
Yeah.
So in that sense, it's this idea that like at some point it's before the 3 years. So either way, that was before Frieza came onto the scene. So when Frieza comes on the scene, he goes, "Oh, that's something that's so powerful. The Z fighters are afraid of it. I should put those cells into Cell."
So that means Cell is actually the most recent project of all of them.
Mm-hmm.
But it's still like he created an independent system, an independent version of something, that computer, and set it off. So it's still doing that.
Yeah, okay. It's still splitting. And that split was also only combining Goku and Piccolo, the two strongest things he'd ever seen. And then Vegeta shows up and he goes, "Oh, well, let's add more of what Goku is." And then, the thing that we added that's more of what Goku is afraid of something. So let's add that too. Because he knows nothing about Namek.
Mm-hmm.
And so like that thing that's been following them around also didn't go to Namek, but it realizes the thing I thought was the strongest is scared. So Cell's already made. He's already in existence. And then he goes and adds Frieza's cells into it. Which I know this is nothing about Dragon Ball anymore at all, and that's totally okay. We're on Dragon Ball Z. But also this is like a small thing that like when I realized this is what happened, it made me realize that Cell has the most potential to be the strongest.
Oh yeah.
Because he can get Zenkai'd from the Cell Saga, from the Saiyan sagas, but then also Frieza, who the only 2 times we ever see Frieza train, like hardcore train, well 3 times, we see him train 3 times. He becomes gold, and then mentally trains while he's in hell, and gets so strong he can handle destruction and be able to collapse from, like, he becomes on par with Goku. Like Goku's been training for the last 1.5 years, 2 years. All of Black happens. Frieza mentally is training and is just as strong as Goku. Well, maybe. At least Super Saiyan Blue level with him at his current level when he comes off of that. And then the next time we see Frieza Cell train, he somehow finds a room that's very similar to the Hyaboggle time chamber, and he gets 10 years of training in 6 months and shows up Black. We only know of him training 3 times.
Yeah.
How many times do we know of Goku training? How many times do we know of Vegeta training?
And Cell never technically trains at all. He just, when he makes the Cell games remake, he just sits there and waits for the time.
He just always there for the
time. That same, almost like it's a genetic quirk, because again, the King Cold and all of his kids, they're all clones of him, and it's never really established if he's just a clone of somebody else either. But they're not only clones, but they're genetically souped up clones.
Yeah.
And so the intention was always to create a better version of himself to replace himself.
Mm-hmm.
No ideas of immortality there. It wasn't until Frieza came up with that idea.
Yep.
And so that means that Cell is already technically completely unlocked. All his genes, everything completely unlocked, ready to go. That's why he's so powerful right out of the gate. Mm-hmm. Then you have the idea that he goes through several Senkaikus, but he doesn't train. Had he trained even for a minute, it would have been, wow.
Well, exactly. Like, it's that concept of like, if he's down, you know, in Hiffle, and like if he was actually training this whole time and actually got like brought back in some way, like then how strong would he actually be? Like how powerful would he be in that sense? Um, and there's a fan theory out there, but also Toriyama, like when they asked why Goku chooses to go get Frieza instead of Cell for the second time around, like when they need an extra person for Super, and they asked Toriyama, he goes, well, technically, Frieza has shown up stronger. Cell, in Goku's mind, is still Cell. Is still Super Saiyan 2 level. Frieza is Super Saiyan Blue level. And he knows that Frieza has this potential to keep getting stronger, where Cell hasn't proven that.
He has to die first or pull himself up.
Yeah, and also Cell has Vegeta arrogance, energy.
Yeah.
You know,
He'll sit there like, fine, hit me first.
yeah. And so like to Goku, it's who has the most potential, who is already strong, and who has the most potential to get stronger. In Goku's mind, that's Frieza, because to him, Cell doesn't have the drive to actually do a thing.
Yeah, his whole thing is you have to prove to me whether it's worth me even punching you.
And all of Cell's strength is from absorbing. Like when he first fights Piccolo, when Cell first fights Piccolo, he's weaker than Piccolo, and Piccolo has not fused with Kami yet. This is just Piccolo as is, which is about stronger than Super Saiyan 2 level. You know, Piccolo's about Super Saiyan 2 level, not Super Saiyan 2, sorry, Super Saiyan level. He's about Super Saiyan level, and he can't beat Cell. Cell disappears. The next time they see Cell, he has a golden aura on him, which is essentially Super Saiyan level, and he's the same strength as Piccolo. And that's after Piccolo has absorbed Kami. And he goes, how many? And because that's not from Cell going off and training for the last month. That's from Cell absorbing cities from the last month. So in Goku's mind, Cell's strength is only from taking others. Where Frieza's is born with unique potential and can actually get it.
I think that would have been an entertaining Cell in the Tournament of Power, simply because, like, oh yeah, he got his ass kicked. It would have been hilarious to watch him repeatedly be like, what? No! How could you do that? You can't hit me like that. Like, just all of those dastardly reactions to every single thing that slaps him. Yeah, exactly. It would have been entertaining.
Oh, it would have been entertaining, yeah. Well, and then also at the same time, with all the regeneration ability that he has, he very well could have Zenkai'd multiple times through it.
Oh yeah.
Like we could have seen a point where you have quote unquote golden Super Saiyan Blue Cell.
Yeah, everybody would
and then Jiren just slams him on the ground anyways.
Yeah.
And Jiren's like, nope.
Jiren's like, we're destroy energy. And like, again, what? How?
Yeah, exactly. Beautiful. So all of this coming back into like a little bit of like spirituality, and like we'll wrap it up on a good point here, is it's like the whole thing of like, not to go through like all of the different ones that Goku faces throughout all of like the Red Ribbon Army thing. It's just this amazing thing that he eventually takes down the Red Ribbon Army because Tao kills his friend's dad, or kills his new friend, and then he goes to decide to collect all the Dragon Balls and have all the Dragon Balls and do it. And like, even when he climbs Korin's tower and like gets stronger, all of it's now his new purpose is still within his creed, to help my friends. So his original theme of like, I want to get the Dragon Ball to run of my grandfather was to be kind and to keep growing stronger. I'm going to keep traveling the world to grow stronger. Then his third thing comes in of, oh, help friends at all cost, takes down Muscle Tower. Still helping all friends at all cost, my friend got killed. Mm-hmm. Now I have to bring him back to life. Oh, you're bullies. And so it comes to the point that like, well, now I know all the Dragon Balls, and they have all the Dragon Balls, but it's enough times that he's watched the Red Ribbon Army hurt people, and he goes, okay, you guys are the biggest bully around. Something needs to be done about you. But I'm going to go get the Dragon Balls. And even when he fights different people, he'll ask, are you part of the Red Ribbon Army? Yeah. Okay. Then kicks their butt.
Now I know the gloves are off.
Yeah. Like, and so then it becomes this thing of like, your insignia means I can now hurt you. And he goes through this, and
yeah, that red ribbon, like, it becomes established even in the manga after a certain point. If you have that symbol, like he doesn't even know what it means, who they are technically. All he knows is that symbol means you're a bully, and I'm gonna fight you.
Like you don't get to be around. Another thing I want to point out here is General Tao, Mercenary Tao. So Goku, when I was watching it, I thought Goku got his first Zenkai when he fights Tao. Tao. I said Tao because I'm trying to remind myself the next time I say it, but I thought he got his first Zenkai there, and he doesn't, because he actually climbs the tower after that. The Dragon Ball saves his life,
Okay.
and then he climbs Korn's tower, and trains with Korn's tower, and gets to get the Senzu when he gets to the top of the tower. In order to get a Zenkai, you have to be mortally wounded.
Yeah.
Or to the point where it's like you couldn't do something. So like the concept of like he doesn't get his first Zenkai until Tambourine beats him up, which is in the Piccolo saga. But as an example, like when he gets one later on from Piccolo beating him up the first time, King Piccolo, Yajirobe has to climb the tower for him because he's that mortally wounded he can't do it. He doesn't get his first one there, but he does get stronger. And the thing I wanted to point out about General Tao was that like the way you say General Tao is the mispronunciation of the Tao, and it's spelled the same way. Like the Tao of like the way that the Tao that we talk about is not the true Tao, because you can't talk about the true Tao. It's like it is all that there is. But like the Tao Te Ching, like the way to walk the path of Taoism, leads a very harmonious way. And if you look at Mercenary Tao, he is a disharmonic version of all that. He is wrath. He is not peace. But he has enough skills. Like he is centered enough, and he defies physics. So he understands spirituality or martial arts or Taoism enough that he can defy physics. When I mean to defy physics, chop the tree, throws it, jumps onto it.
Yes.
He's that strong that he can do that. And he goes, oh, how far away is that? 5 hours? I'll be back in 30. So he goes to the place in 30 minutes or less, on tree, faster than a plane can go. And I say like defy physics because there's this level of like you can get so strong, you defy physics, like you kind of see Goku do this. And this is just my personal belief, what I think is actually happening is you hit a point where you're stepping into fourth dimensional energy. And with fourth dimensional skills, you can fly. You can shoot laser beams. And I'm not trying to be like, ooh, look what we can all mystically shoot Kamehamehas. Like we probably could if we trained hard enough and our bodies are that level. But it's like Goku and most of the people in Dragon Ball, they hit the spiritual side from the physical. They do the physical door that leads into that. And it hits and what happens is they hit a point where the physical body can't get any stronger without tapping into the emotional, mental, or spiritual realms in order to get stronger. And what happens with a lot of other people in spirituality nowadays is they get stronger in spirituality, and then they realize, oh, I got to do some mental work. Oh, I've got to do some emotional work, and then the physical happens. And it's like, oh yeah, I've been taking care of myself, but I should get even better. Like we see this with a lot of the indigenous cultures, like sweat lodges, ayahuasca ceremonies, vision quests, things of those nature. I'm trying to think of another good one, like even drum journeying a little bit. Require a diet. So like a sweat lodge, a vision quest, an ayahuasca journey, a Wachuma journey, all of those require a special diet and your physical body to be a certain way to have a good experience. But a vision quest, you fast for 4 days, then you go into nature, and then you're on your own to survive in the wilderness. Like that requires a level of physicality to fast for 4 days. You're not eating, you're drinking water, but you're not eating for 4 days. And then you go to the wilderness to take care of yourself and survive on your own. So like you're already in a weakened state. So you have to be physically strong in order to receive the kind of spiritual downloads that come from a vision quest. But your physical strength has to be a strong level. So I bring all this up because like Tao hits that level. He hits that spiritual level where he understands, like physically, he's physically strong enough that he has to do some mental work, some emotional work to do it. And you see it's like he has a guilty conscience. And he doesn't fully figure it all out. But he gets enough there that he's technically the disharmonic Tao. He's the disharmonic version of it, of wrathfulness, using all the beauty that can be evolved from fourth dimensional gifts for for not so good things. But still, that's a morality call from our viewpoint. From our third dimensional viewpoint of morality, we deem him evil, we deem him Goku good. Solely based on Tao is hurting people unnecessarily. Goku's not hurting anyone. And so I bring that up because you take that to like a fifth dimensional or a sixth dimensional or even a seventh dimensional viewpoint, that applies. Where Tao is disharmonic because he's using it.
And ancient tales, we're searching for the Dragon Balls. Follow our trails through mountains high and valleys deep. We'll make a wish that the world will keep. Wish upon the Dragon Balls, let your dreams take flight. With the power of the Wolfang Fist, we'll win this fight. Kamehameha, feel the energy rise. With courage in our hearts, we'll reach for the skies. Training every day, pushing past our limits. In the face of danger, we'll never quit. From the first step to the final test, we strive for greatness to be the best. Wish upon the Dragon Balls, let your dreams take flight. With the power of the Wolfang Fist, we'll win this fight. Kamehameha, feel the energy rise. With courage in our hearts, we'll reach for the skies. Through storms and shadows, our spirits won't break. With every challenge, there's more strength to take. The power of teamwork, the bond we create. Together we'll master our ultimate fate. Wish upon the Dragon Balls, let your dreams take flight. With the power of the Wolfang Fist, we'll win this fight. Kamehameha, feel the energy rise. With courage in our hearts, we'll reach for the skies. So let the Dragon Balls guide our way through the darkest night to the brightest day. With the fire inside and our spirits free, we'll unlock our destiny for all to see. The walk of the Dragon Balls guide our way through the darkest night to the brightest day. With the fire inside and our spirits free, we'll unlock our destiny for all to see.